Welcome to r/Entitled People, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. The boss said I should always call him if there was a problem, so I did. The second story. Entitled crazy lady got punished for her behavior. The third story. Getting back at the entitled jerk owners for firing my employee. The first story is, my boss got karma. I work in the retail industry at a grocery store chain. I've been with the company for almost 6 years and worked at 3 different stores so far, due to going to school and moving to a new area. I started out as a cashier and I'm currently the assistant customer service manager. Yesterday evening, a lady came to our service desk and wanted to return a pound cake she got from our bakery. Please note that we didn't bake this cake. This particular type of cake comes in our frozen truck and is then thawed and put out for customers. Anyway, she wanted her money back because she claimed it was stale. Nothing abnormal about that. So she handed me her receipt and I tried to give her money, around $6. She looked at me confused and said, "I'm supposed to get double my money back, aren't I?" And I told her politely, "I'm sorry, ma'am, our double money back guarantee is only for our store brand items and fresh products prepared in the store, such as our cookie or our brand of cakes. This pound cake was brought in on our frozen truck." Then she got frustrated and told me things like, "I've been shopping here for years, and nobody's ever told me that." Things like that. I even confirmed with the customer service manager that the cake in question isn't a part of the double money back guarantee. I should also mention now that she never took the money from me, so I set it down in front of her, as one would. She then proceeded to tell me she was going to call corporate, to which I replied, "I'm sorry you feel like you have to do that, but I'll be right here with your money when you get through." I'll also reiterate that she didn't take the money yet, even though it was already offered. While she was on the phone with corporate, I took care of other customers. I overheard her saying things like, "Yes, he threw the money at me and was having an attitude." SH like that. And when she was finished, she told me, "They said it's a bakery item, so I should get double my money back." At this point, she lost all credibility, so I didn't take her word for it and stuck to what the customer service manager said. She gave in and said, "Fine, I'll just take the cake back." As I kept the money and gave her cake back, I said, "I'm sorry about the issue, ma'am, but I hope you didn't lie to them about my attitude and me throwing money at you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day." She scoffed and took her cake with her. I thought the issue was resolved, but this is where the real issue started. The next morning, which happens to be the morning of when I'm typing this, the store manager calls me to his office while I'm finishing up some accounting stuff in the front office. To preface shortly, the store manager is relatively new, but he's very ignorant and has little social skills with his employees. Most of the day, he stocks shelves and doesn't manage the store like he's supposed to. I try not to be rude, but he's an idiot, and about as useful as a paperclip. Everyone in the store knows this, including my intermediate boss, the customer service manager. So I walk to his office and he tells me that he got a complaint email from corporate about the customer with the cake. The email mentioned me throwing the money and having an attitude. He didn't even ask me what happened. He just told me that I should have done the double money back for her. I replied that I was under the impression that the cake in question wasn't a part of that policy, and he said it was. I also tried to tell him that I didn't throw anything at her and I handled it very politely, but he kept talking over me and interrupting me. He went further by telling me that I don't have the authority to deal with people like that, and he's the only manager in this store, which is blatantly untrue. There's at least 7, including myself, and I should call him next time there's an issue. All he had to do was ask me what happened, instead of taking the customer's word for it, and tell me something like, "I know you were trying to do the right thing, but our policy actually says." But no, he was rude and treated me like a child. I've been doing this for 6 years. I know exactly how to do my job, and I've handled many others like this customer. She's the type that knows our system. Buy something, complain that it's bad, demand a double money back refund, call corporate, get what you want, and repeat, because now she knows she could get away with it. We have several of those types, and I knew from the beginning that she's no different. But the store manager doesn't understand that concept. He told me we should do anything to make our customers happy, even if it means giving them a gift card. And that's exactly what he told me to do, because she would be on her way back very soon to pick it up. So that was the end of the discussion. From that point on, I told myself that I would bother the hell out of him when a customer needed help, because apparently I'm not allowed to de-escalate situations, even stupid SH that I could handle easily. Also, he's apparently the only manager in the store, so only he can handle it anyway, right? I was talking about this to the other customer service manager and she's in complete agreement with me. And now for the karma. As soon as I was about to clock out for the day, the customer from earlier walked up to the desk. I was very kind and I even told her, "I'm really sorry about our issue yesterday. I was under the wrong impression of the double money back policy regarding the cake." Here's your $20 gift card the store manager wanted to give you." She didn't even say thank you. She just looked at it and walked outside. She then walked back in and came up to me and said, "My husband said $20 doesn't begin to cover the humiliation you caused me, so I'd like to speak with your store manager to get more money put on this card." I was disgusted, but it was the perfect situation. I called the store manager to the front, and when he got there I told him, "The customer about the cake is back. Gave her the gift card, she wants more. I'm about to leave so you can deal with that." It was so satisfying to see his face as they argued about the gift card as I made my way to the door. I'm not sure what the result was, but I'm pretty sure she didn't get anything else. I totally knew exactly what she'd do because again, I dealt with people like her before. You give them an inch, they ask for a mile. There was a part of me that wanted to give her what she wanted and more just to prove my point to the store manager that not all customers have good intentions. Most of the time, I can tell if they do or not. So that's pretty much it. A perfect example of how crappy it is to work retail, between SH management and SH customers. To everyone who works retail, I salute you. To those who don't, please be kind to us. We have to deal with this type of thing regularly. The second story is, lady loses her mind because I'm deaf. So some backstory first. I work at a large grocery store chain as someone who stocks groceries, replaces items that have been left or returned throughout the day, and various other chores around the store. It's a pretty small store, so most of the employees can do almost all the tasks. So this particular night, I was putting away a cart of items that customers decided they didn't want, overstock, or were damaged. There was a separate area where damaged items went, obviously. Now I should preface this with the fact that I'm not completely deaf. I can faintly hear things like slamming doors, loud phones and ringtones, and some things like that. Though I cannot hear voices at all, even loud yelling. While I'm deaf, I know sign language. Have a large pin and lanyard that I wear that informs people that I am in fact deaf. In addition to this, I have a small notebook that has a variety of pre-written responses to questions, sort of like flashcards. Though communication is difficult sometimes, I try my best to make things work and I'm very prepared. Most people are understanding, work with me, and we get through the conversation. Some kind people even sign with me. That always makes me smile. I'm pretty young and don't look like the typical hearing impaired person, so when people sometimes get a little grumpy because I don't respond right away, they're very apologetic. Not this time. This is where the story gets good. In the cast we have me, the deaf teenager, Crazy Karen, CK, Nice Customer, NC, Store Manager, M1, Regional and District Manager, M2. So I'm mulling along one evening and decided to get an early start on the overstock from the day, which was filling a shopping cart to the max. Since this was earlier than I normally began, there were more people still in the store, as opposed to when I usually started. No big deal, I started anyway. About half a shopping cart later, I'm in the paper towels section when I feel someone roughly poke me in the shoulder. I jump and turn around, startled to see this lady. She's taller than me and I'm no slouch. I'm 6 feet tall, or 72 inches. She's very thin, probably mid-50s, frizzy blonde hair only held back by a bright red hat atop her head. This back in September of 2020, and of course she doesn't have a mask on. She begins to what I assume was yell, judging by the aggressive look on her face. I begin to point to my lanyard and ears, trying to communicate that I can't hear her. According to the NC, who I will introduce in a moment, she was saying things like, "I'm talking to you. I've been trying to get your attention for 5 minutes. She then takes a step forward and grabs my lanyard, yanking it violently, and it gets unsnapped from around my neck. She throws it to the ground. At this point, I'm very nervous and beginning to panic. I try to actually say I can't hear, but I'm not sure how it came out, as I've never actually heard my own voice. My SO says it sounds very cute, however. It's at this point the NC enters the picture. I see him round the corner. A 30-something-year-old man, I assume, rounds the aisle and walks up to the CK, asking what the problem was. This is all what he wrote down for me, saying what he said after the incident. NC looks over to me and I frantically point to the pin on my mask and grab my notebook and scribble down, "I'm deaf and I don't know why she's yelling at me." NC turns to CK and they exchange some words. Things like, "Can't you see he's deaf? Why are you yelling at a kid like that?" And responses like, "He's not deaf, he's just ignoring me because he's a lazy little SH." This goes on for a few minutes and I finally begin to cry, as this has caused a scene with people starting to surround us. It finally attracted the attention of my two managers, M1 and M2. M1 walks up to me while M2 walks to NC and CK, who have now really started shouting at each other. M1 knows sign and asks me if I'm alright. I say I am and wipe the tears from my face and grab my lanyard from the ground. M1 tells me to grab my things and wait for her in the employee break room. About 15 minutes later, M1 and M2 walked in with a police officer. The CK had been arrested. M1 explains to me in sign language that CK had been arrested for third-degree assault, and the officer needed a written statement and asked if I wanted to press charges. I happily say yes and give my statement. The NC stuck around and I wrote him a thank you note. M1 also gave him a gift card for being an upstanding citizen. That was by far the worst experience I've ever had with a customer, but I'm thankful that awesome people like NC, M1, and M2 exist. Also, CK got sentenced to a few months in jail, probation, and was fined a hefty amount, and I honestly hope it destroys their life. And the last story is, quit job at beginning of shift, left boss with no help. When I, 34 female, was 19, I'm sure you can math that out. I worked at a gas station as the night manager. I actually really loved it. I was alone from 6 to 11, in charge of closing, paperwork, cleaning, etc. I would just turn the radio up and prance around. Ah, to be young again. Fast forward 4 months in or so, and my boss calls a meeting telling us she sold her business to pursue real estate. Lame, but okay. The new owners had me training everyone, and I'm sure they were planning on letting me go eventually anyhow, as they preferred to hire family, so they could work them longer and pay less. But that's neither here nor there. One of my girls was working with the owner's son, and she had money go missing when he was the only one around. They blamed her. I wasn't having it. I told her not to worry and I'll talk to them about how they cannot hold her responsible when she wasn't the only one to access the till. They agreed. Well, I thought at least. About a week later, I go in for my shift, expecting to see my opening girl, and she's not there, but the owner and his son are. I asked them, hey, where's my opener? He says, don't worry, it's none of your business. So I called her. They had accused her of stealing again and this time fired her. I told them to show me the tapes. They refused. I told them to show me who had signed into the tills and they refused. This girl had been working with me for a long time before these new owners, and since I did all the paperwork, I knew there was never money missing. They lied. I lost my SH. I took my work clothes off. I called a friend and told them right in front of them that I'm walking out of my job because they're lying sacks of trash. This is where it gets better. It was rush hour and they didn't know how to work the gas bar. It tended to act up if you didn't activate the pumps quick enough. And sure enough, he tried to get me to come help. I laughed in his face and told he's an idiot. Then I stood outside and all my regulars that would come, I directed to go elsewhere. I stood there for a solid hour telling them how they're liars and thieves. Everyone drove away. I made $8 an hour to put up with garbage. The revenge was sweet, even if it was only a day of inconvenience. Thank you for your likes, comments, and subscriptions. I really appreciate it.